Said you're getting more and more like your father.
Why?
Because it's almost good enough.
G'day everyone, welcome back to Life on the Hulls, and this week I'm going to take you back in time for a moment to when I removed the deck mould off the hull, and we positioned it down beside where I'm actually making the hull. And now it's time to start thinking about actually putting up a tent over the actual structure, but first that whole thing needs to be flipped over. So before I can do anything, we need to establish the basis for the tent frame, and while Sam was here and I had someone to lug the concrete around, and John here performing the measurements with his obligatory string line that John just can't live without, we were able to get the stirrups ready for the posts that are going to support that particular tent. So it was a very interesting day. It's good to see young Sam bringing in his engineering skills that he studied so hard for in uni and now doesn't use because he's changed occupations as most uni students do. But for now, it's an interesting video, this one. It's got a little bit of laminating, and there's also a section in it where I had to take off to Queensland, so we didn't get a lot of notice and we had to make a bolt for Queensland. So I'm going to start to introduce you to some of our holiday that we had in Queensland, including a visit with an old friend of mine later in this video. So stay tuned, and let's get Sam to work while he's here, because he nicked off after this digging and concreting session. So you know, put him to work while you got him. That's what kids are for, and let's get into it. John?
Yeah, you're in the union. I'm going to have to call it all off. Unless you're in the union, you can't be working here. At all.
What do you say about that, Sam? Being a...
Mate, you've got to earn money to be in the union.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you paid your union fees for today?
You've got to earn some money.
Union.
How much money have you earned today?
Oh, -10.
It's love,
I think
Sam.
I paid for the coffees.
Oh, you didn't? It's all about love, this job, isn't it, mate?
Oh, yeah.
All right, go for it. How many bags in there, Sam?
3.
I think there's another one.
I'm fine.
Oh. Back. Okay.
There you go.
All right, so we've got our stirrups in place here, ready for our tent. That's the first one. And the second one over here. So these came out really well. I did them on Friday and they're rock solid now. I'm going to bang the foundations or the formwork away and just leave them as the stirrups, and they're basically ready. So the one up the other end there is done as well, and all I need to do now is put another one beside the existing ones on the tent for the hull, and then I can start working on the framework for the tent here. Now that's going to be a little bit more complicated than the first one. I have a bit of an issue with the width of the mould itself, but where that grey upright is there's going to be a 90 by 90 post mounted to that particular post. So in fact both tent structures will be joined at that point there, just to stop any movement of the whole thing. So 3 days after I started laminating these bolsters, I've got this last one right in the centre here to do. Look, we've had nearly 10 inches of rain over the last 3 days, so it has not been a good time for laminating, and certainly I'm not going to. But today I'm down at about 70% humidity, so I'm able to start again. Honestly, the last few days it's just been that wet, there's no way you could even try to laminate anything, because that moisture will actually inhibit the catalysing and inhibit the cure, so there's no point in even attempting it. You're better off to put it off and go and do something that's more important. So I'm all ready to go, do this last bolster and get this one in, and then I'm going to do a level check with my engine template that I've got to make sure that I'm on the money, and then I might start to calculate some angles as well before I start thinking about putting in these hardwood bearers. So my time in the bilge has never seemed to end here, but by ending the laminating these foam bolsters, I found just the discomfort working down in that skeg region where the prop shaft actually goes down into the back of the boat. It's very narrow. My feet were at opposite ends, and it was very hard to balance down in there, but ultimately I got those foam pillars finished. They were very, very strong in the end. So I've made myself a template of the front of the motor so that I can ensure that I can actually access everything in this belt section here. Now I do have a cover plate on the actual front of the motor here, which is covering over the pulleys, obviously the impeller here, and I've got the alternators up here. Now there's a second alternator going over here, and I've just found the instructions for that, and I'll deal with that a bit later on, and that's going to give me more than enough power generation from the motors themselves. Now the only thing is that every alternator you put on, you lose a few horsepower. So this is a 57, so if I were to say lose 3 or 4 horsepower per alternator, then I have to consider that I'm going to lose 8, so I'm down about 49 horsepower less, you know, obviously variances. But this whole fuel pump and intake section needs to be relocated as per the instructions away from here, and the belt actually will come up here, and this alternator will sit in this position over here. So there's a lot to do here. I've just basically found that just by pulling it apart, I've been able to get a really good feel for how it's going to fit. And then I've made this template. Started with cardboard. I've tried to make it as accurate as possible, just so that when I position it over on my engine mounts, I can sort of see exactly where everything's going to be from the bed area, because I want to make sure that I can access mainly the impeller and these belts. I don't want to have a limited access to them. They are around 4 feet below the bed, so that's going to be pretty difficult to ensure that I can get to. So I need to make sure I've got access at all areas. And the issue I've got, I don't know whether you can make it out, but this here is the top of the bunk, and there will be a large access hatch here where I lift up the mattress and go down in there. But I don't know whether you can make it out, and I'll try and show you from another angle, but it's around about 50 centimetres to the top plate of the motor, which means I can certainly step into the motor bay, but I'm thinking that even better will be an access hatch in here, where I can open this up and have unabated access to the front of this motor. I've always sort of thought that that was going to be necessary, but not quite as necessary as it is going to be now, because there's no way I'm going to be able to reach that without actually being able to climb down in there. Then that's not big enough for me to get in there. So this here is the top of the bed, and that's actually 30 mil higher than that as well. So I've then got, holy dooly, like 60 centimetres between the top of the bed bunk and the motor, which is great, which means I can almost lay over the top. But if I don't cut out an access hatch here, I will never be able to reach the impeller, which is right down there. That's the impeller there, and then we've got the alternator there, and to change a belt will be near on impossible unless I have access through this bed bunk. The bolsters are glass, and the engine bearers are going to fit pretty much where they are there, maybe a little bit of adjustment, but I'll give you an idea of the scale, the size of these engine rooms. They are huge. Okay, so Janet and I are on a mad dash to Queensland. They're closing the border tomorrow night, so we're on our way, and we've stayed the night up at my sister's place up near my mum's in my old hometown. But we've just come across an old area that I absolutely love. This is Capity Valley. I used to have a few friends that used to go that lived here. We used to go to school with. This valley goes almost all the way to Sydney. It's an incredible big chasm in the Australian landscape. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, we've got a 10-hour drive ahead of us to try to get to the border. They're closing the border as of tomorrow night. But what a stunner of a place this is. Absolutely beautiful Australian wilderness. Love it. So because all the flights were cancelled, we had to drive. How many hours have we done? 20, I think. 22? 24, I think. 24 really? Hours of driving from home. We've beaten, it's flooding again at home, so we're pretty lucky. We've just arrived up in Yeppoon, which is on the Tropic of Capricorn, and it's sunset and it's warm and it's beautiful. We're pretty happy to be here after 2.5 days in the car, but yeah, nice. Very, very nice. Got Great Keppel Island out here. I don't know what this little guy is here. I'm going to go for a paddleboard out there in the morning and check it out. But yeah, we're pretty happy to be here. It was a bit of an epic, wasn't it? We escaped New South Wales and into Queensland. We're feeling a bit like foreigners in our own country, but that's the way it is. The place is locked down south, so we're going to have a ball. Janet and I have got 5 days here. Janet's working up here. I'm going to do some work, get some editing done, do a bit of research for the cat, and you know, we're going to get things done.
Hey, Cookie. Cookie, you're on YouTube. Cookie.
Classic.
So in Yeppoon, the dogs drive the cars.
Hey, look at this. We better not put that on video. What do you reckon, Cookie? What do you reckon? Where's Johnny?
Cookie.
Cookie, where's the beach?
Cookie, where's the beach? Where's the beach?
That's the problem when you drive on the beach like you do up here. You just gotta, you gotta wash your car down every time. That's the one way to keep your car clean.
I find the speed bumps are a bit of an issue. That you have to be careful because you don't know if there's going to be a log or what on the beach, or someone parked, or a crocodile, or you don't know
a crocodile.
You do get crocodile sightings on this beach a couple times a year.
Okay, so we're going for a swim on a beach where we've had crocodile sightings.
We like to take southerners because crocs like southerners.
They like New South Welshmen, Janet.
Yep.
Oh, Janet, they even prefer Brits and German tourists. They just love.
Yeah, well, traffic's typically heavy at this time of day. This is peak hour.
Pretty heavy traffic.
4:59 p.m.
Check this out.
4:59 p.m. It is peak hour in Yeppoon.
Our Cookie's going absolutely crazy down there on the beach, just going mad. Look at this. I think Janet's going to wuss out. Janet's not having a swim. Looks like I am though. Johnny and Michael and I are going to go in. Game of afternoon beach footy with Michael and Johnny. Oh, nice. Check out where we are. Byfield National Park, mid-north Queensland. Janet wants to put the phone down and go in the water. I don't know about that.
I'm going to have a glass of rosé instead. I'm not going in the water. I'll just stand here and watch them. Even for Australia, it's too cold for me to go in. And apparently the water's 20 degrees, but it's still not warm enough outside for me to go in.
So I can say that I have now swum in croc-infested waters. But look at the colours here, guys. Look at this. What a beautiful sunset. That's looking to the east. So this is the west over here. But over the back here is an estuary that is typically, you know, croc country. So Johnny sort of put my life on the line today. But yeah, pretty happy to have come up here for the afternoon. Beautiful. I've had to leave Janet back at the hotel. She's got to do a few hours work. Janet's actually working all week this week because we had to escape 10 days early. She's got to actually put in the big hours. So Johnny Mack, that we had a swim with last night up on Yeppoon Beach there, has actually offered to take us on take me on a crocodile tour. Arrived at the Crocodile farm, and it's all about the leather industry, and obviously there's nothing to waste here. These guys apparently have around 4,500 saltwater crocodiles here in this farm, and you know, these big pens here are just full of 5-metre crocs. So I'm hoping for a really enjoyable tour with my mate Johnny. I've known John for around about 12 years. We used to do a lot of paddling together, and actually Johnny surfs surf kayak, so he's got a sort of similar interest. Had dinner with him last night, had a swim in the croc beach. It was an absolutely superb experience just coming up here. I've been wanting to come up here for so long, and I'm glad we dropped in. Yeppoon is a winner, the Crocodile farm.
This morning, welcome to Crocodile farm. What a beautiful day. For those of you not from around here, I know there's at least one person in the room who's from down south, and yeah, this is our winter. This is a typical winter day. So because crocodiles being hunted to near extinction, there weren't any left. They reckon about 3,000 crocs in Northern Australia. It's not a lot, because right now on this farm you're surrounded by about 4,500 crocs. You are completely outnumbered. So what we're going to do now is really cool. We're going to go and feed our teenage crocodiles, and we give you a privilege. We let you get really close to them with only one fence between you and them. With privilege comes responsibility. So nothing over the fence. I mean nothing, all right? These guys aren't forgiving animals, all right? They don't care about you. They'll bite the hand that feeds them. They do. I'll talk about that later.
Yeah, right. They're agile.
And look at that. A face only a mother would love. And there's two types of crocodiles in Australia. What are they?
Fresh and salt.
Fresh and salt. All right, so this is a salty V-shaped snout. The freshies have got a completely different snout, and we'll show you them later, all right? On the farm. He's got 10 girls in here. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to have a teenage male in with a few female crocodiles, though. Yeah, at the end of the day, very good fun. Now, this is closed for crocodiles. Crocodiles are summer animals. In summer, they're breeding, they're more territorial, they're protecting their territories. The problem with winter for them is their guts can't digest food if they're too cold.
Oh.
What age they start breeding at? Well, they're exactly like humans. Puberty is early teens, and then the average life expectancy is like us, 40 to 70 years old, and the old ones live over 100. So they're really not very different from humans at all. No. We sell lots to Victoria on a leasing arrangement, and so you get them about this size and then send them back 1.5 meters long, and then we send you a small one again. So essentially you've raised a small animal for us.
And
I
it's
think
like a guide dog.
She's 500 or 750, and a salty's a little bit more.
And what's the black
John,
market
we can
trade?
go.
Has it disappeared or?
Pretty much. It doesn't mean
fun.
it's not existent, but for leather, it's too hard for them to sell to the big fashion.
Absolute cracker of a visit. If you're in North Queensland, drop out here. It's out of Yeppoon, and absolutely superb. It's quite an interesting process that they go through to harvest the meat, and just to talk about the leather in these things, you know, beautiful supple creatures. And so that's it for this week, guys. I'm going to continue to put little bits of the holiday in because I had to leave pretty much 3 weeks early, or we weren't going to get to our cat charter up in the Whitsunday. So I'm written off around about 3 weeks of work on the boat to actually have a 1 week and a week and a half holiday. So, but here we are. Janet's off for a walk. I'm going for a walk. I'll see you next week. I'm going to keep editing and put up a couple of videos, and then continue on with the boat work. I've got plenty of footage, and hopefully I can keep the weekly schedule going. So thanks for joining me on Live on the Hulls. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on. See ya.